Call to order this Muncie Park and Recreation Board meeting, Tuesday, May 20th. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Chandra Park.
Here.
James Lutton.
Here.
Mark Irvin.
Here.
Shannon Powers.
Here.
Brad Marshall.
Here. Next on the agenda, we've got the approval of the minutes from our past meeting. If there's no discussion or amendments that need to be made, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we do have a presentation from the Indiana American Water. As many of you may know, they are the landowners out at Prairie Creek. We've got an agreement with the city for quite a few years now. I think they're going to detail some of that, but had been a while since they'd came and spoke to us and wanted to get some information in front of us and the public as well.
Technology is great when it works. Well, good evening. Thanks for having us this evening. My name is Wade Amos. I'm the Director of Operations for Indiana American Water. To my right here is Chris Gosnell. She's our water quality lead for the state. She's going to help tag team this presentation with me. Also present, we have Jim Henderson. He's our Eastern Indiana Operations Manager, responsible for Muncie, Richmond, and Winchester. And then Joel Reuter, he's our External Affairs Manager. So thanks for having us. Before we get into the slide deck, I just wanted to kind of help, hopefully, squash some rumors that I know that are going around, which are that we are considering, shutting down all public access to the reservoir. I know that's out there. Social media's good at rumors from time to time, but that's far from the truth. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage before we even get going here. But I want it to be known we value the relationship and the partnership that we have with the City of Muncie and the City Parks Department. We really wish for nothing more for the public today, for generations to come, to truly enjoy the recreational value that the reservoir brings. But in doing so, we have to find that balance between recreation and what the reservoir is and what it was intended to be, which is the primary drinking source for the city of Muncie. So, tonight I vow that we're kind of opening a new chapter here with the city of Muncie. We've kind of been disengaged a little bit over the years, maybe you could argue maybe over the past decade or more. And so tonight we want to reinvest ourselves and recommit ourselves to the city of Muncie and really move this partnership forward. In doing that, though, we really have to pay attention to how do we balance recreation and the benefits that the reservoir brings the community, but also as that drinking water source. So that is, our business, and that's what we're focused on, but we want to find the balance, and that's what we're committed to. So, slide deck, Joel.
Before we get too far, will this be available for the board and to go in the minutes as well?
We have some one-pagers that we're going to put out in the back of the room when we're done. Not necessarily the presentation, but it's basically all in there. We can talk about that. It's probably not an issue, but we definitely have a 2-page document which summarizes a lot of this.
Okay.
These first slides are really just a little bit of history on Prairie Creek. We started in business here essentially back in 1885. This is one of our longest standing utilities in the state of Indiana. Almost 140 years we've been operating here. And it was in the late 1950s that demand became such that, there's not a ton of water in the ground in eastern Indiana. So we built Prairie Creek Reservoir back in the late 50s, came online in 1960. And then we entered into an agreement with the city, offering recreational opportunities, sharing, the value of the reservoir with the city. And so we've had this agreement for, I'm not real good at math, but I think it's 64 years. I won't read all of this, but, the reservoir provides 7.2 billion gallons of water, and we currently provide no, that's on the next slide, but the intent of the agreement was for the purpose of establishing recreational facilities for the public in the city of Muncie and surrounding areas. So, Joel, if you want to go to the next slide. I mentioned that groundwater is not real plentiful in eastern Indiana. Hence, we have a reservoir in Kokomo, we have the reservoir here in Muncie, we have the reservoir in Richmond. 70% of the water that we provide the city of Muncie comes from Prairie Creek. We discharge from the reservoir into White River, and from there we take water into our plant and then distribute it to the rest of the water system. Roughly 80,000 residents, if you count your seasonal residents at Ball State, so roughly 80,000 folks we serve most of the year. And to the tune of about 7.5 million gallons of water a day. Joel, you can go to the next slide. So, as I said, this agreement's been in place since 1961. According to our records, there's been three basic addendums to the agreement. The first was in 1996, and we'll talk a little bit more about this too. We enrolled most of the acreage, at least on the west side of the reservoir, into Indiana's classified forest program, wildlife program, I think it is. In 2012, we did an addendum. We extended the agreement to 2072. I don't plan to be here when this expires, but we've got a long way to go to get there, right? There's another 47 years. Again, there's my math coming into play. And it was at that time, the original agreement had a 15 horsepower limit on the reservoir. And it was at that point that we amended that reg. And then again in 2013, there was an additional addendum which gave certain rights, which I don't know all the details to that, to the sailing club out there on the reservoir. So where we get into some struggles is the agreement stated that any sort of facilities that were to happen at the reservoir would have to be approved by us. Going back 60 years, we have some records of some things being approved. My gut is that a lot of things were approved verbally, handshakes, sure, go for it. A lot of sure, go for it's turned into, what we have today, which there's a lot of value in the, recreational benefits of the reservoir. But the other condition that's, and this is verbiage straight from the agreement, that the conditions must be kept neat, clean, and safe with the primary intention that Prairie Creek is to serve the community as a source for safe, clean, and reliable drinking water. So that's been the focus from day one, right? What we have today are a lot of uses around the reservoir that probably, not only are they not in the spirit of the original agreement, they're really not to the language of the original agreement. And I could give you some examples of that, but the best example, I think, is the campground. According to our records, I think it was 1989, we have on record a drawing that you see at the top right of the screen, which called for 50 campsites. And now we're at 230 odd campsites, if I'm not mistaken. So, how did we get there? I wasn't here. I can't speak to it, nor were probably any of you. So, that's kind of where we have, and there's more details that we'll provide here in just a moment, but those are the kind of things that we're looking at that we want to work through and figure out collectively together. Okay. Being the primary source of drinking water for the city of Muncie, and you go out and you assess what's going on around the reservoir, it does bring pause to us as the water purveyor in the community. Again, the campground, the top left, and I'm going to work left to right, starting at the top. You have what we know, and I think all of you all know, that an inadequate wastewater system around the reservoir that's been cited multiple times, I believe, by the State Department of Health. We have ATV usage down on the southeast side of the reservoir that, you know, from an environmental perspective, is not very friendly. And if you've been out there and you can see this photo, it's quite disturbed from its normal state, natural state. On the right side up there, we have the horseman element that operates on the west side of the reservoir, coming down just directly below the two horses there. That photo is of a campground that I believe used to be the Model Boat Club, if I'm not mistaken, property, but I believe is inhabited by those folks, which we love horses. We have nothing against horses, but we're of the opinion that both the ATVs and the horses are not a use that are really compatible along the banks of a drinking water reservoir. The center picture on the bottom, and I believe this is being worked through. I've talked to the mayor, talked to Mark and others, private property owners who have kind of made their own little lakeside estates on our property that is intended to be, I believe, part of the lease, so in some cases not. Clear cutting and really creating some environmental hazards with the reservoir, erosion, sedimentation, things of that nature. And then on the bottom left, the boats. You know, there are a lot of boat docks on a 1,200-acre lake. I don't think there's been any new boat docks added in the last several years. I know that this group has been replacing what was there, the old docks, the old wooden docks with maybe composite. But undoubtedly, there's a lot of boats on 1,200 acres, which again brings us a little bit of pause and concern. I am going to, so, you know, being in the business of water and clean quality water, I'm going to turn it over to Chris. She's going to present to you some data that we've acquired and some other concerns that have resulted from that.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. As Wade said, I'm Chris Gosna. I'm the Senior Manager of Water Quality and Environmental Compliance for Indiana American. I want to start by kind of talking about Indiana American Water's Source Water Protection Program. Source water protection is a key component of our business. We have been expanding our program over several years. A key factor and component of source water protection is collaboration, which is a large part of why we're here tonight, and really a lot of what Wade was alluding to as far as really wanting to work with the city, the Parks Department, and our other partners to make sure that we are taking care of our source water now so it's sustainable in the future. As I said, collaboration really is key and maybe even the most important part of source water protection. We also have several different components here where are the backbone of source water protection. The first here is identifying the risk. So that's the awareness, right? We need to have the visibility. As Wade said, over the last several years, maybe even decade, we should have been potentially more involved out in the reservoir, had more awareness, better monitored the situation. So we will be doing that moving forward, additional site visits, awareness, and surveying. We have been conducting sampling, which we'll be sharing the result summary of that sampling in a few slides. We will continue to monitor the health of the reservoir. We have analytical tools, both at a local level, but we also have our American Water, who is our parent company, Central Lab in Belleville, Illinois, and we have a really great research and development team with expertise that is utilized across the board of across the American Water footprint. And then we also have source water monitors at every one of our source water, surface water intakes. So we have one located on the White River at our intake. Those monitors are online analyzers. They analyze for different compounds such as pH, conductivity, dissolved oxygen, turbidity, things that we want to just keep an eye on, because if we see a significant change, we can hopefully react in time and adjust treatment so that we don't actually see any negative results in our finished water. Second one there is education. That's, again, a big part of why we're here tonight, is to make sure that we are educating the city, educating the park board on some of the things that we're seeing out in the reservoir. In addition, we are actively involved in the community. We participate in the White River cleanup, and we have for years. We have our American Water Charitable Foundation, which does provide grants, and we've partnered on a few things associated with that in Muncie. And then we participate in what's called our Americans in Action, kind of playing off the American Water name. And we volunteer in a partnership with the Red Tail Conservancy, and we've actually been working on the west side of the reservoir, eliminating invasive species within the watershed. And then finally, ongoing monitoring, and I'll take that farther and say ongoing management of the watershed. That will continue to be through monitoring, but also partnerships and collaboration, as we've discussed with the city and other local groups, and planning. We have several ways that we have been and will continue to plan our source water protection activities. We have what is called a source water threat minimization plan. We have put that together with IDEM, which is the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, and the IFA, which is the Indiana Finance Authority. That provides a list of potential contaminant sources that can potentially affect the source water. We also utilize a system called WaterSuite. It's an online platform that has a GIS component that allows us to then map the potential contaminant sources, look at how close they are to our intakes, what's on site, contact information, and even goes as far as mapping how long it'll be till it gets to our intake and treatment options for us. And then we have cyanotoxin plans, which is really a big part of why we're here tonight. They dictate scheduled monitoring, analysis, and treatment strategies for our surface water sources. So I want to share with you a case study. This slide is a case study on Grand Lake St. Mary's. This is in Ohio. This is a town that is about 65 miles northeast of Muncie. This is a man-made reservoir. It's about 13,000 acres. This is a worst-case scenario, so I will preface this. You can see the green water there on the bottom. They had a microcystin HAB event, which I'll talk a little bit about what that means on the next slide. And it did create this green paint-like map on the surface of the water. This was due to years of agricultural runoff and residential pressures, and that resulted in pretty much the reservoir not being usable. Homeowners of Grand Lake St. Mary's, they had a loss of $51 million in home values over 6 years. And then there was also financial implications to the town. The parks, sorry, I cannot read from here, from recreation and tourism and local businesses. Fortunately, they have implemented some positive things, watershed protection efforts, and other educational components, and really have started to see an improvement in the reservoir, although it is still not used for swimming. Again, I'm not saying that this is where Prairie Creek Reservoir is at. Fortunately, we are not there, but what we do want to do is make sure we're putting forth the proper source water protection efforts now, change course, and get ahead of it and make sure this isn't where we end up. So this next slide, I want to kind of step back before we get into it. This is kind of a summary of what we've seen in 2024. And you can see some photos of Prairie Creek and as well as White River there, as well as a sample. I'm going to do a little bit of definitions before we get into this. I'm going to talk about cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria is often commonly referred to as blue-green algae. It's frequently found in freshwater, and it can form thick mats and produce harmful toxins, which are referred to as cyanotoxins. These thick mats or colonies are known as harmful algal blooms or HABs. Health effects of toxins can be acute or they can be chronic. And for the purpose tonight, I'm going to be talking about microcystin, which is a specific type of cyanobacteria or cyanotoxin that is produced that we have seen in the Prairie Creek Reservoir. So as I mentioned, we do have cyanotoxin management plans. They dictate the frequency of the monitoring and their preventative proactive plans. So we set up a monitoring schedule. We monitor more frequently during warm weather months. So May through September, we are out there more frequently monitoring, and that's because the temperatures are higher and we're more likely to have algae events. Starting around May of 2024, we started to see the algal levels becoming noticeable. As I said before, it's not uncommon for freshwater, but the timing of this event is becoming earlier and earlier each year, and we're seeing some surface scums that we were not previously seeing in prior years. Sampling was conducted in May in the main lake, and when I say main lake, Prairie Creek Reservoir on the historic ADA pier on the west side of the campground. So hopefully everybody is more familiar than I am with that area and knows what I'm talking about there, but out on the pier on the west side of the campground. That sampling did show detections of microcystins, so cyanobacteria. We've also seen taste and odor compound trends increasing over the last several years, specifically geosmin. Now that is an aesthetic concern, not a health concern. I want to very clearly make sure everybody understands that. But it does lead to musty odor. So if you've been out to the reservoir and you notice something like that, that very well could be those geosmin levels, and we have seen them increasing. They're not a direct indicator that there's a cyanotoxin or HAB event going on, but they can be a leading indicator. Then we go to June, and we saw the first indicator of a harmful algal bloom. This was determined by both our internal cyanotoxin sampling as well as visible indicators, and we were seeing a change in our treatment demands. And then in July, we received a request for increased land use associated with the campground wastewater system and the expansion there. And then we also became aware of the health department inspections that Wade mentioned. So we decided to do some additional monitoring. We monitored for nitrates, total coliform E. coli, and cyanobacteria. The samples were collected due south of the campground, south of the dump station, and due west of the campground in the area of the pier that I mentioned before. We saw a high spike in nitrates and also algal growth following the 4th of July weekend. So directly after that, it does appear there was a direct correlation between the campground usage and the reservoir water quality. In August of 24, we did additional monitoring throughout the reservoir, and samplings continued to show detects of nitrates, total coliform, and microcystin, specifically in the cove immediately south of the campground. And in mid-September, those are the photos that you're seeing there. We saw a significant water quality impact at our intake on the White River, and then also in Prairie Creek. So on the left is Prairie Creek, on the right there is the White River. Fortunately, our intake pipe is below the surface, and we were able to treat for any kind of levels of concern. So all the water going out the door, finished water going to the community, was not detected for any kind of cyanotoxins. However, this is concerning to us because we hadn't seen something like this historically. You can go to the next one. I know this is very hard to see. This is an EPA, US EPA slide on cyanotoxins and their potential health effects. This is why it matters, I guess. I want to tie this in. This is why it matters that we're seeing these cyanotoxins in our source water. Exposure routes of cyanotoxins can be ingestion, thermal, and inhalation. EPA has set drinking water health advisory 10-day levels of 0.3 parts per billion for infant and preschool children, and 1.6 parts per billion for school-age children and adults. So to put this in perspective, 1 part per billion is comparable to about 1 drop in a 10,000 gallon tank. So a very small amount can potentially cause health effects, adverse health effects. And for microcystin, which is only what I'm going to talk to since that's what we've directly seen, and that is the first one listed, even though I know everyone can't see that. The health implications can be stomach pain and digestive issues, headaches, respiratory issues, blistering around the mouth, and pneumonia. And on the green on the other side, you can see kind of an overall picture of other health effects that are associated with some of the other cyanotoxins. I will stress and reiterate again, we've not seen any detects in our finished water. So the water going out the door has not had detects of any cyanotoxins. There are other cases where communities have not been so lucky, such as Grand Lake St. Mary's, and we want to make sure we're staying ahead of this and creating a sustainable resource for the community from both a drinking water perspective and a recreational perspective. So I'm going to turn it back to Wade to talk about the path forward.
So, so the path forward is protecting our drinking water, right? and trying to find the balance between it and the recreational value that the lake brings. So we're committed, as I said earlier. We want to increase our collaboration with you. We want to increase our collaboration with other partners and stakeholders, whether it's the Friends of Prairie Creek, Soil and Water Conservation District, State Department of Health, anybody else who's out there that is a stakeholder in the reservoir. Those are the folks that we want to engage with, right? And that's our intent as we move forward. How that looks and when that happens, soon, but that's something that needs to be ongoing as we manage the reservoir going forward. We are committed to working with the city and the Parks Department on finding a solution for the wastewater system as soon as possible. And we'll be in touch with the city soon and start that conversation. But what we have today, the word that's been used, provided to me by the State Department of Health is the holding tank is porous, right? So that means the water that's going in, the waste that's going in, has high likelihood of leaching out into the reservoir, and that's something that we want to stop. So improving the wildlife habitat. So you'll see on the map there, the green acreage is property that we have enrolled with DNR in the classified wildlife program. There's a yellow segment up at the top right of the map there. That is acreage that until last fall was in row crop. We've since terminated the lease with the producer there. We're working with some partners locally, talking with the Nature Conservancy. We've worked with them in other areas, looking at planting trees or other sort of vegetation to really, enhance and bring it back to its natural state. The acreage down at the bottom left, those are the ATV trails. And, if you jump down to, in that third bullet, we are of the position that we're going to discontinue both the ATVs and the horse riding that happens on the west side of the reservoir. The horse, both bring problems environmentally. The camping that's occurring with the horses, that's not sanctioned. The State Department of Health decided that it would need some sort of a wastewater system, on that side of the reservoir, and we don't want another wastewater system on that side of the reservoir. So at the end of 2025, we're in the position that this will be the last season for both ATVs and the horse trails and the horse camp on the west side of the reservoir. We're committed to enhancing other recreational opportunities. In fact, just last week, we met with Carl Malone, I can't remember, Flatland Resources, I believe, talking about phase 3 of some trails on the east side of the reservoir. We're committed to that. There's some conversations I think we need to have around, maintenance plans and things of that nature, making sure that they're secure and safe for the folks that are going to use them. But we're committed to those sort of activities. I don't want to, suggest we're not. Those are the kind of things that we definitely want to support moving forward, and we're committed to that. Ultimately, on the campground and the boating, we want to assess what is sustainable. How many boats can this reservoir sustain safely and, from a water quality perspective as well? And the same goes with the campground. What are the number of sites that the property can successfully sustain without causing any sort of additional water quality issues? So that is part of this whole collaboration that was in the first bullet. That's a conversation that we want to have, and we want to engage folks who are professionals in this, not that the local parks department's not, but there are folks who work in that realm and can probably aid and assist us in trying to figure out what is a sustainable number of boats, what is a sustainable number of campsites. The encroachment issue, I think I alluded to earlier, I think a lot of that has been solved relevant to the adjacent landowners and the private docks that were installed. There's other forms of encroachment that have happened. I think up there on the northeast side of the reservoir on that map, just to the west of the yellow polygon, there's a lot of trails in there that I don't believe were built or sanctioned by the city of Muncie. It just seems like there's a lot of things going on in there. And again, that's land that's enrolled in the classified wildlife program. So it's that sort of encroachment also that we're interested in ceasing. And I know we've put up some fencing to try and keep folks out of there, but it needs to remain in its natural state unless we have an approved, thought-out trail system, which by all means could happen on that northeast segment. But for now, we want to do what we can, working with you to make that stop. And then finally, strengthen and sustain measures and controls. With the trails, do we have the maintenance dollars necessary? The security in place that we can rest assured that whatever we put in is safe for the public to use. And that's, again, something that we'll want to work with the Parks Board and the city and other partners on. But this is today our path forward. I know there's not a lot of clarity, with the exception of the ATVs and the horses. And again, I want to reiterate, we have nothing against ATVs and we have nothing against horse folks. There's a place for those activities, and we firmly believe it's not around a drinking water reservoir. But collaboration is going to provide a lot of solutions down the road, and that's something that we want to engage with the city on sooner than later, for sure. So that concludes our presentation. I don't know if you all have any questions.
Appreciate you guys coming in. I think as you alluded to, long overdue from both sides, us engaging with you guys and you guys following up with us. There have been a lot of handshakes over the course of history out there at
I
Prairie
believe
Creek.
it.
And this is kind of lines out with what we've done the last couple of years, is establishing some rules, working on some education out there, and focusing on our safety and the amenities that we have. A lot of information there to digest. I know there's been some conversations with yourself and the mayor and the team downtown, and Carl as well. Appreciate that, and appreciate you guys coming before the board.
I do want to add one more thing, if you don't mind. We have a new state president. His name's Barry Suits. He comes to us from Maryland and Virginia, our operations out there, and they've constructed recently some reservoirs. Reservoirs don't get constructed a whole lot in today's world. And when he came to Indiana just a few months ago, and I talked to him, giving him the lay of the land, right? We own 3 large reservoirs in Indiana that are used, and he was mind blown because it's not common in today's world at American Water that if we build a reservoir, they essentially get a fence put up around it, right? And that is absolutely not on my agenda or anybody else's here agenda or Indiana American Waters in general. But we do want to, again, find that balance.
Right.
So.
Well, I think this is certainly the first step. I know there's going to be continued conversations here. Any comments or questions from the board?
I do have one question.
Mhm.
On the private properties encroaching,
Yes.
whose responsibility is to enforce that? Is that like the park board or the parks department or the city or the water company?
Well, I believe, as I understand it, the Parks Department is put the docks there, providing that private access, which again is not in the spirit of public access, right? That's a dock strictly for that private property. We can have.
He's asking about homeowners.
Hey, sir,
Sorry.
please respect the speaker that has the floor.
So who's responsible for enforcing that? It sounds like the Parks Department has removed or not reinstalled the docks this spring. In terms of that property, that belongs to Indiana American Water. And if it's a matter of working in partnership, or if Indiana American Water we would
So
definitely.
like the clear
police it.
cutting and stuff like that is basically what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's our property. Those are, our trees. We can absolutely spearhead that.
I think that's one that we're gonna definitely need help and support from you guys as we move forward, and
Be glad to do so.
some of the new policies and the partnership we've got is how do we maintain these and provide security and postings and notices. Like you said, there's been a lot of history out there, a lot of things have happened historically. We've got a limited budget for Prairie Creek. I think you may know, and I think most people here, that Prairie Creek in itself is self-sustaining. The funds out there provide for Prairie Creek. So that's a limited budget for what we can do. So any support in those regards would be very greatly appreciated.
We can make that at top of the list when we get together and start collaborating and talking about the big picture. That's definitely something we can dive deep into.
Yep. Excellent.
Do you have a timeline on when you'll be able to provide us an assessment on the campsites and docks?
That's something we're going to do not in the shadows. That's something we want to do openly with whoever from the Parks Department and the city. That is, we want you to be part of that conversation. We don't want to just come and prescribe this is it. I think we've got some ideas on how we can do that, how we can get to that number and assessment. But again, that's not something that we intend to do in a vacuum.
Okay, wonderful.
And we, as the park board, can we have a seat at that table on all those discussions?
Absolutely. We want you there, at least one seat.
Yep. Any other questions from the board? I do have one you might not have an answer for. I've kind of looked in the history books there, and you mentioned the 15 horsepower and the 20-mile-an-hour limit. What's the history there, or do you know how that shifted or what the intention of that was?
You know, I don't. I know, you know, that horsepower limit originally, and then the subsequent 20 mile an hour, you know, that is recorded through, and I'll get this wrong, the Natural Resources Division of DNR.
Mm-hmm.
So that is actually recorded in Indiana code. That is
Correct.
that's a legal process that happened. Once we gave the blessing to bump it up, then that got recorded in the code, and I'm not an attorney, I'm probably saying that wrong, but
Correct.
I don't know how that came to be. I mean, I know as time went on, I boat myself, and 15 horsepower boat motors are pretty much non-existent. You know, they're electric.
Yep.
So I would assume that kind of is what, you know, led down the path, but yeah.
The other question I've got is, I know we've got one open project out there that we're working towards, the trail system and the expansion of that, the multi-use trails, and then also looking forward to any other improvements or collaborations out there. As we move through this, I think we need to make a clear path for how we interface as a board, as a city,
Yep.
and the water company, and to get things documented and approved
Yep.
moving forward.
I think as we begin this collaboration and come together, we can develop some sort of a formal process, if you will, as to, hey, this is what we want to do, and there'll be a review process for that. And, you know, no more handshakes, right? We'll do everything in writing and get it recorded as such. And to me, that's the cleanest way. And, you know, when I'm gone and Jim's gone and somebody else is, and you folks are all gone, there's records to go back to, right, and understand how we got to where we're at. That's what's missing today, unfortunately.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Wade.
Well, we appreciate your time, and we look forward to continuing this relationship, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next on the agenda, we've got the superintendent report from Mr. Carmela.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, you know, it's super month of May. That's our busy month. That's the month we kick off our park system. And so with that being said, we were down at Tui Pool for the last couple of weeks, trying to really get ourselves in a place to open up for Memorial Day weekend. And we've had a few challenges along the way, but we reached out to our pool experts, Bud Bonner Moore. They came in and did our pre-opening and had some challenges which delayed our pre-opening date. And then shortly after that, we received some support from our Muncie Fire Department and Muncie Sanitary District and the water company, just to kind of give us a direction on which way we should go with our valves and our pumps. And so with their cameras, we was able to at least get ourselves in a better place until we can reach back out to Bud and Barn and Moore to finally give us the direction we should go. But all that being said, we got there. And so that was the most important thing, where we started at and how we got to where we're at right now. So we're in a pretty good place. Starting at Tuies, the field rep, Vic, he returned on May 14th to complete our opening process. There again, he had a few challenges. He and I talked, went over some things that needed to happen in the chemical room, made a phone call back to the office, and were able to get some parts ordered, and they should be here. Speaking with him today, the owner came down today and stated that those parts should be in this week, and so we should be able to get those put in place, and we should be good to go for Memorial Day weekend, as I know it to be. YMCA will be doing the water samples. They've taken one up down this week already. I think they're due to do another sample tomorrow. We had a few little problems with the mechanicals at the wading pool. That since has been corrected as of today with the Jared Bud and Bond was there throughout the afternoon and midday, and so we seem to got that fixed, and that wading pool is being backfilled, and it's ready to go just as soon as we can get a second sample on the small pool as well. Also, Bud and Bond and Moore will be providing a proposal cost for our pit, which is outdated per what they see around the state. And so they're going to be providing us with a proposal to provide to the board and then to the mayor to have conversation about what direction we go with that as well. And then next, moving on to Riverview Park, restrooms, as I know, is out for bids. That's for Riverview and Thomas. On May 13th, I received an email from Tom Noble, Muncie Sanitary District, wanting to remove the splash pad drain out of the stormwater line prior to Memorial Day, and I think that's been done. We got some cosmetic stuff we need to do with some mulch in the playground area, and then I think there's a section of the sidewalk that needs to be put in place, and then maybe smoothing out some of the dirt that's there. As I went by and made my observation there at Riverview. Splash pad updates, Halterman splash pad is up and running. Riverview splash pad is up and running. Tuies splash pad is operating as well. And then we have Cooley and Thomas still needing to have the hubs put in the pit. And those should be getting done remaining of this week and maybe next week. We should be good to go on those two splash pads as well. Moving on to West Side main sewer line to be replaced by J. Bird LLC. They're going to be the company fixing our drain line, running from our bathroom to our main system. When we get traffic at the park during the weeks, that's probably one of our more usually parks on a weekly. And we're flushing. With the old lines that we had, it was causing problems. We've made two repairs already. And so it's time for a major fix, and they're set and ready to go on that as well. They've did their troubleshooting and soon be starting that project. And then we've had some conversation with Randy O'Connor for baseball field renovation at our West Side Park and as well as Heakin Park. There's been some acts to get some baseball play going, to get those fields up to par. Basketball court at West Side has some standing water spots, and I think it's due to some drain issues. So we hopefully will be looking to rectify that here in the weeks going forward. And then on the back, skate park, of course, that's what everybody's been waiting to hear as we get closer to an opening date sometime in June. And if you ever drove by there, you see kids out there all day long, all evening. Just can't wait to get on and get some time on the skate park. So the community's looking forward to having that skate park open. And from what I'm hearing, sometime in June. And then last, Candace Commons, we had our National Parks Day Saturday. A lot of wind, but we still was able to keep some of the bouncy houses up and challenging to keep one going. One was always seemed to have some support, some help, but we had about 75 to 80 kids out and parents, and so we went from noon to 4, and for the most part, it was at Candace Commons, and our first time there. So overall, pretty successful. And I think that's it for my report. Any questions? Anybody got?
Any questions for Carl?
Carl, have the signs come in for the skate park yet?
Not yet, but I can follow up and see where they're at with those. And we may have to do some changes to some of the signs. It's going to be very, just no dogs on the skate surfacing, just some real general rules. And then as we look into the extreme skate park rules, and that'll have a ledger of pretty much everything.
Okay.
And on that same note, that ordinance did come before City Council, and had a few questions before the meeting from some of the council members, but overall seemed positive, and that should be on their next month for formal approval to get codified into the city rules. Any other questions for Carl?
No, but thank you for,
I got a
thank you for
couple.
going to
All
city
right, thank you.
council, Brad.
Hey, no problem. I got a couple for Carl. You talked briefly there on TUI. Pending no surprises between now and the weekend, we're on schedule.
Yes, I was there talking with Jared today, and everything seems to be going in the right direction. And we're there hoping to get our water test back, hopefully with good results. And other than that, we're ready to open up and meet that deadline of Memorial Day weekend.
You mentioned, I think you hit all the splash pads. They're all either ready to be opened or open for this weekend as well.
Yes,
Okay.
except for the two, Cooley and Thomas. Hopefully we get those.
Okay.
We got some hub work that needs to be replaced, and our mechanic was on vacation, so he'll be back tomorrow, and we should be able to get those up and going as well.
Okay.
And that is Cooley Park and Thomas.
Any other questions for Carl?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Next on the agenda, we've got the programming and event approvals.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Hi, Nikki.
Just a side note on TUI, we did get the pool vacuum in as well, so that is down there. We didn't really have one that was operational last year, so it was kind of difficult for the staff down there to clean, but it did come in. It has been delivered to TUI's, so that should help for this season. Piggybacking off of Carl, National Kids to the Park Day was Saturday. Like he said, there were some high winds, but it was still a fun time. So I just wanted to, we wanted to thank our community partners for helping out with the event. So thanking Thrive Credit Union for not only coming out, but also providing the 2 face painters who were, they had the longest line until literally 4 o'clock when we were wrapping up and starting to break down for the event. So DJ Goldie provided the music. Dee's Creations provided the 360 machine and some inflatable games. And then we also had participation from Second Harvest, Walmart South, Girl Scouts, and Girls Coalition, Inc. And then we also wanted to thank Dee's Creations, Heather's Creations, and Festival Factory, who set up as vendors for the event. They did help to make it a wonderful, fun event for the kids, giving out giveaways to the kids, their parents. So it was a very nice day considering that we were wrangling inflatables and bouncy houses from the wind. The Muncie Teen Internship Program, we are right there. We are starting June 4th. That is our first mentor day. And Thrive Credit Union will be there to discuss financial literacy with our youth and also to ensure that they have access to their accounts through the app to make sure they can check their payroll every Friday. Let's see here. The youth are currently being sorted into all the groups for our sites, and we will be at Eco Rehab at 3 of the Muncie Community Schools working at Second Harvest, IU Health Ball Memorial, the YW, Tui Pool, the Walker Event Center, and also at Legacy Gardens. We have filled all the positions for the team leads and drivers, and we're just waiting for a few background checks to come back through, but they have until Friday for that. All of the uniforms or the t-shirts for the leads and the youth workers have been ordered and will be ready for pickup on the 30th. If there are any members of the community, businesses, or organizations that would like to donate water or snacks for the youth, they can drop them off at our office. We're there Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and we close from 11 to 12 for lunch. Summer sports programming, Carl and I are trying to figure that one out since we are down a program director. So we are trying to figure out what we're going to be able to do, but we are definitely still going to do the big community events. We are working with the manager over at Walmart South on doing our second backpack drive giveaway. That is currently scheduled for July 22nd at McCullough Cabin from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. So if anyone would like to drop off donations for that, they can do it at our office, and then they're also going to have bins set up at Walmart South. And we also plan on doing our trunk or treat event, which is currently scheduled for October 18th. Our partner for that wanted to avoid conflicting with the Ball State homecoming. Let's see here, and I do have, I think it's 6 events that need approval. I'm gonna try and get through these pretty quickly. The first one is actually just a change in date. It is for Everlasting Superator Inc. That's Zion Strong. He originally had his event approved for McCullough Park for June 20th through June 22nd. They wanted to move it to Heacon Park for July 11th through 13th. There's nothing else on the calendar for those dates. And he has provided his insurance. So the only change would be the park and the date. So moving from June 20th through 22nd at McCullough to July 11th through 13th at Heacon.
Any questions on that event? Not entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you. Then we have a request from Ashley Duke to put on a basketball skill camp on May 29th at the McCullough Park basketball court. She's requesting the basketball court and the cabin. She is expecting about no more than 75 youth to participate. They will have security if you guys want them to have it. There will not be any vendors, but they will provide lunches for the youth. And let's see here. They're not requesting anything else from the Parks Department besides the use of the basketball court and the cabin.
Is that a independent group, or is she affiliated with an organization?
She doesn't have a group on here. She only has her name.
Any indication of where the kids are coming from or how she's networking on those?
Nope, but I can call tomorrow morning and find out. Even though this event, it was dropped off, I think, when I was out, and it is for next week. But I can, let's see here. I can run out in the hallway when I get finished and make a call and see if she answers. I'll put that one to the side.
Yeah, I think with the missing details, I think we'd want to make sure that we require security on that.
Okay.
But overall, I think, I personally don't have an objection outside of requiring security. Other discussion from the board?
Well, I guess in the advent of, our new contracts, would an event like this require them to have insurance? Mark, do you know? Because-
Probably someone would need to provide insurance if it's a sponsored event, yeah.
Security and insurance? Okay.
Yeah. And the reason I bring that up is because we asked Zion Strong the same thing.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I want to make sure that we're equitable and
Yeah.
consistent.
Consistency. Yep. So we've heard two modifications requiring security and clarification on the insurance. Any other discussion or questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve contingent those items.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Okay, the next one is East Central Neighborhood Association. They would like to put on 3 small concerts to promote community building and to promote local artists. They're looking for June 11th, July 9th, and August 13th from 6 to 8 p.m. Those are Wednesdays. They're expecting no more than 40 people. They will not have any vendors, but the neighborhood association will provide hot dogs, vegan hot dogs, pop, water, chips, so the snacks. And the only thing they are asking for is a porta pot. And when I asked about if there would be enough parking or anything, they said the majority of people will just be walking over from the neighborhood, so there wouldn't be any large amount of cars coming over.
What park is this again?
Washington Park.
Okay.
So that would be Wednesday, June 11th, July 9th, and August 13th from 6 to 8 p.m. And they're expecting 30 to 40 people. They said that they don't currently have security plan, but if you require it, they will get it.
I know we've,
What's the time of their events?
6 to 8.
6 to 8?
6 to 8 p.m. yes.
I know we've discussed several times about having a security threshold or a requirement. In my mind, this kind of falls right in that window of should we or shouldn't we require it. Obviously, if the event is larger than expected, that's something that we would need to request security at. First one was June 11th. What was the second one? Sorry.
June 11th, July 9th, and August 13th.
Thoughts or discussion from the board? And this is the neighborhood association hosting this event.
Correct.
Is this the first time they've hosted an event?
It's the first time I remember seeing it. When I looked through the copies I had from last year, I didn't have any, but since I wasn't actually doing the presentations last year, I don't know.
I mean, how different is this if they were at like West Side taking a shelter? So if they don't have a
Yeah.
shelter, they're just at the park
Mhm.
doing a party. Like, what would we require for that?
Yeah, if it was just a shelter reservation, as long as it stays within the confines and sizing requirements of the shelter, it falls under a reservation. I think the direction I might like to see us go on this is that we approve the June event and see how that goes. We could approve the July and August contingent on the first one going well and reevaluate if we need to require security on the future events. I know we also had a recent, another neighborhood association recently that we did require that they're gonna provide the cost coverage for the porta pots. So I would think we'd wanna match that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a bad idea.
Any other thoughts or discussion?
If the first event goes well, we just let Nikki know. She can just tell them to go forward with the other two, or?
Yeah, I think that would be the best way, is we can approve all three contingent on the first event. Save us one more on the list next month. Any objection?
You have,
or
it's,
thought?
what type of, is it a when we say concerts, is it like symphony? Is it,
They said solo or duo artists.
okay.
Any other questions?
Are there no noise ordinances that have to be sought out or something like this?
Good question.
That's my first question, and secondly, 40 people is a guesstimate. I don't even know the size of Washington Park, so is there ample parking? Or people are gonna walk?
Yeah,
They said people will be walking over.
And then, it's early, 6 to 8, it'll still be light out, but it
Yeah.
ends at 8, and it's like,
That's what they have, 6 to 8
okay.
p.m.
But it's gonna be a neighborhood event, so I believe
Wait.
I believe we should move forward June 11th and then let them.
Mm-hmm.
I know Cooley, or the South Side neighborhood's done
Similar.
similar events, so. Right?
And maybe if they could file just a short report after June 11th, so that we have something to
Review.
review.
I think we should just go see how the first one goes.
Mhm.
And then if it's 40 or a bigger crowd or more, then we would need to move forward with security
Yep.
or whatever, Since it's the first time it's been done, we don't really know what to expect.
Agreed.
Well, I make a motion to approve the June 11th event.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I would mention to them that they may need to seek out a noise ordinance.
I wouldn't think so, being in and at 8, but I don't know all the rules either, so.
Being a neighborhood event, I don't think they're gonna have that issue.
Okay.
Excellent.
The next one I have is Oaks Church. They are looking to use Halteman Park on July 12th from 10:30 to 3. It is an opportunity for their members and the members of the community to gather and enjoy pickleball, food, fellowship, and community. They are expecting about 100 people. They said their security team will be out. Let's see here. They do not plan on having any vendors, but they will be bringing in pizza. And they are not requesting any additional equipment or services from the Parks Department.
That's a neighborhood church doing it,
Yes.
kind
That's
of right
there on
out
Wheeler.
front. Yeah.
Yep.
So that would be July 12th at Halteman Park, 100 people, no vendors and no equipment from us.
Any questions regarding the Oaks Church event? Like my request there is if they're providing a security team, we need a name, and they also need to make sure that they relay that to the MPD as well, that who the security contact is. Any other questions?
I guess I have a question. What would be the difference of this versus the last one? Outside of there just being more people.
Larger event is the main thing I see.
Okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with the event. I think the event's fine. I just want to make sure we're consistent.
Yeah, and I think that's really where we need to spend some more time on what our security requirements are gonna be and what our threshold is.
Yeah.
And how
Did we
we,
not put a number? Did we not discuss a number of what we would cap for what hits large, what hits? Did we talk about that?
I think it's came up, but I don't think we've put a number to it per se. We've just had the discussion. And certainly we probably have that now if we want, or if we need to kind of think about that and review with the legal team and understand what the exposure may be on event sizing. And probably talk to the police department to understand what their recommendation may
Yeah.
be.
Police department would be a good source of information. That's fine. When we talk about security, I think really important for people to understand, we're not necessarily worried about people at the event, but some of the events attract people that we want to protect people at the event too. So security kind of serves two purposes. So yeah, the police department, that'd be a good source of.
But they're bringing their church security, correct? Yeah.
I'll make a motion to move it.
Okay,
Motion,
so moved.
a second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. You got one more?
Two more.
Two more.
Let's see here. Grissom Elementary School wants to do their annual back-to-school bash at Cooley Park on July 31st from 3 to 7 p.m. They are expecting 300 people. They will have security provided by Legacy Life Security Solutions. They will not have any vendors, and the only thing they are requesting is restroom facilities. So since the bathroom is locked, I guess that would be porta potties. So Cooley Park, July 31st, 3 to 7. This would be, I think, the third year they've done this or have requested to do it.
We've never had any issues either, have we?
No.
It's always been a good event. Okay. Any questions or discussion? I do think in this case, the restrooms is outside their control, and I think those should be provided by the Parks Department unless there's an objection.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Now one more.
All right, the last one is Mary's Miles in conjunction with Recovery Cafe. They are requesting to use West Side Park on August 23rd from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. As the hub for their start and finish of their 5K fundraiser run. They are expecting 200 people. Security will be provided by Muncie PD. As of right now, they have for vendors, they have 18 concessions and then local services and organizations that will be there giving out information. And they are requesting the use of shelters 3 and 4, and let's see here, to have the bathrooms open and 288 porta pots. They did fill out a request for a waiver, as it is it's a 501c3 fundraising event to help fund and operate their 501c3.
What would the cost be for all of the rentals?
The shelters and the porta pots?
Yes.
Shelters are $53.50. And then the porta pots are $45 each.
About $200 roughly.
Well, a little bit more than that because the porta pots would be at least a 2-day charge.
Yeah,
So that's 180 right there.
closer to 300.
Yeah, so the two shelters would be 107 and then the porta pots would be 180. So 287?
Discussion on the waiver.
Nope.
Discussion. Discussion on the event.
200 people will be there?
Yes.
Approximately.
And it was MPD security, right?
Yes,
They've done this before, something similar, right, before?
yes.
Yeah.
Another discussion, I'd entertain a motion to approve with the waiver.
Move.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Anything else, Nikki?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Doing a great job, Nikki.
You are, Nikki.
Before we move to the next one, Carl, do we have any update or status on a programming director? Is that posted or still working through that?
Yeah, I spoke with Patty before she went out on vacation. We had talked about, the mayor and I had also discussed the first quarter. We're a little bit past the first quarter now that we wanted to start going. She has some apps in her office that we need to go through and then repost a notice and then start getting someone moving in that direction. So that should be happening. As long as the board is in support of that, of us going in that direction, and I think we're ready, Nikki and I are ready to start help assist them with trying to find a capable person moving the parks in the right direction.
I know Nikki, and you've done a great job picking up the pieces here and working through that. But I assume Nikki's gonna have vacation days at some point, so we gotta.
Yeah, she's actually really done an outstanding job in the office, manning all the other duties, and then the summer work program, and the interns, and the interviews, and just helping out wherever she can, whenever asked. And so I definitely appreciate, but we are ready to move in that direction.
Anything you need from the board in that regard?
Just knowing that we are meeting with Patty to go through apps and start narrowing down some candidates.
Thank you, Carl. Next on the agenda, we've got the Prairie Creek report. I see Tony and Kelly back there.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Evening.
All right, so it's May, we're starting to get a lot more traffic. We had a couple large events over the weekend. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from that. We had a race, had some people here who had never been to the reservoir before. They said that they'll definitely be coming back. They didn't know we had such a beautiful place out there. This weekend, the beach is gonna open. That's gonna be on Saturday. It'll be from 11 to 7. Friday and Saturday will be open from 11 to 7. The rest of the week will be 11 to 6. That's also the launch hours. So we do have the launch open 7 days a week now. Everybody's hired. I do have a part-time security position that could pick up a few extra hours that aren't filled. We could hire for that if anybody's interested. But we do have security pretty much from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. Most days through the weekend on the weekends. So they're doing a very good job. They're not letting anything really go past. They're not picking and choosing who they're going to enforce them to. They are doing an amazing job. I don't know if everybody has that PCR security phone number, but they can call the office and have that. We have it posted all around the park and non-dispatch. There are some things our security you'd want to call police before our security in certain situations. If you do call our security, it's just gonna, it's gonna have the police come in just a little bit later because that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna call police if that's what's needed. All the boats are in. If you have any issues with any boards, call us. We'll get a work order in, and the maintenance team will get that taken care of. This weekend, we also have the Catfish Pirates event. That's going to be a pretty big event. They've done it every year, but this year we're working with Wesley Miller. We're going to have fire trucks out there doing touch a truck. It's pretty much just to raise money for the veterans in our community. I know that's a very big need of ours. That's going to start at 2 p.m. at the beach as well. So a lot going on at the beach. The beach is free. Again, this year, we are working on getting usage of the card. In the past, it's only been cash for concessions, so we should be able to use cards this year. I think that'll help us a lot. I've been working with the chief and sergeant on Ironman and 4th of July events. 2023, we had 14,000 people attend the Ron Bonham Days. Last year was 21. So Carly and I have been working really hard this week. We spent an hour today going through the Indiana Health mass event laws and trying to trying to see what those rules are to apply at the campground and other areas so we're not so overcrowded that ambulances can't get in. I'm also working with Wesley on getting maybe the off-road ambulance, the little one like the golf cart, staged inside the campground since they're staged at the beach, so that we have additional resources that get help if it's needed. We've added some sand at the beach. I know it's been a concern. There was a big issue with windsurf. A lot of people were upset about the swimming there.
Oh, bless you.
But, bless you. But we did add 3 loads of sand there, trying to help. We do know that there's a rock issue. We're going to address that, start trying to get some of those rocks out of there. In the past, we've had a lot of people asking about more things to do for the children. So we added George last year. He was a hit. He's been out on the weekends. School's about to end. He'll be out every day. We're doing a rock painting day, June 6th. That's a Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. I'm going to go out there and do that with the kids. And afterwards, we're going to start a snake in the reservoir for the kids. And after we start the snake, like at the entrance, they can paint rocks throughout the year with their families and just go at it. And we'll clean it up at the end of the year. We already did start to have a little bit of theft, but they were caught instantly that day and trespass. So between security and police being on it, I really think it's going to be a lot better this year.
Great.
I'm very satisfied with how it's been going. So that's where we are.
Any questions for Tawny? You have any events for approval?
I don't. This is like the first time ever.
I know. Everybody got them in early. That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know, I was, talking to security and they're reciting fishing codes and requirements and the rules off the piers, and it's, they're pretty impressive. They've been doing some studying.
Yeah. He told me he's read through all the rules and he knows them. And he's like, nobody can question me on these because I know him really well. He said he's read them several times. So now I'm like messaging him just so I don't have to go through like the 15 pages. I need a quick answer. I'm like, hey, can you tell me exactly what this is? And he answers it quick and sends it to me. So they are amazing, Brian and Matthew.
Thank you, Tawny.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we've got Friends of Prairie Creek. I don't see Jackie out there, but I don't know if there's nobody here to speak on them. Okay. I guess I don't. Do you guys have a new president or? Okay. Okay. Well, she. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, she did. She did. Next on the agenda, we've got several items under old business. Some of these have already been discussed. I think, Carl, you're probably up on this, but I'll kind of buzz through these. West Side Skate Park, we talked about that. Scheduled opening is mid-June, and still working with a date for a grand opening ribbon cutting type ceremony. I know at the city council meeting, they requested that could be on the weekend if at all possible, to make sure families and kids could be there. Riverview and Thomas bathroom update, Carl already highlighted that. I did see that those requests for bid are due in, I think, the end of the month here. So I assume those will go before Board of Works and hopefully see some progress here this summer to get those under construction. Talked about TUI update. I don't think there's anything else to discuss there. On schedule to open Memorial Day, pending any major issues we see there. Talked about the programming director, looking forward to getting somebody in that role. Any other old business of discussion? I know we had some open contracts and some work we were doing through those and establishing how those were handled moving forward. I know Shannon and Mark both have worked on that. I don't know if we've got any update for those.
Do you want to start?
I can start with some. We actually have made really good progress. These are all programs that involve third-party providers, and that means not the city, but the city's working with someone. And as we work to get the contracts reviewed and in place, one of the big things that was needing to be attended to was insurance requirements. You can imagine with activities of the kind that go on in all the programming, insurance becomes really, really important. And we have a number of contracts that are in place, subject only to some very minor details, fine details. So wanted to report that to give status to the board. And I think those will be in place and ready to go in time for programming to start for the summer. Then I didn't know, Shannon, did you want to talk about the summer intern program, or did you want me to? Or
Our partner will be the Whiteley Community Council as a collaborator, not just fiscally, but they've got a lot of educational goals and committees that are invested in the youth in Muncie. So we're excited to be able to work with them on this program and hopefully some other future programs. We are going to be able to offer some programming this summer. For example, we'll have free Learn to Swim programs for all ages. So we'll start with Baby and Me classes all the way up to adults that want to learn how to swim. They're going to be free classes, and those will be at TUI Pool. So we'll have information on our social media sites. And our partner with that is Cardinal Swim Club. So very excited about that program. We'll also be able to have aqua Zumba classes, which have been very successful, 2 nights a week. And the only cost to be able to participate in those is the gate entrance fee, but you don't have to pay for the actual aqua Zumba instructor or the class part, but just getting into the pool. So that we should have a nice summer at TUI Pool.
Oops.
Excellent. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you. Can I also just give a shout out? Carl Malone mentioned some of the challenges that we had at TUI Pool, but it was really a city effort to get that up and running. This season, we had Fire Chief Daniel Bierford and Deputy Chief Daniel Nind, and they were personally down there for 3 different days, making sure that the pool got filled. They even brought the fire hoses and extended, they were extended all the way to a water main line, and they were able to pump 100, or it was like 1,000 gallons a minute into the pool. So shout out to them. Also our sanitary district crews, Tom Noble, David Heisel, Chris Duddleson, Justin Thompson, Chad Lowe, all of them were just Love. Sorry. They were just amazing in helping us get the pool structure, that infrastructure just up and going. So
Awesome.
we are thinking about having some sort of event where we can have a city, like, employee appreciation event at Tui Pool this summer for them. We don't have any dates or anything solidified, but people are on board. The administration's on board for it.
Very good.
So,
On that same note, I know she's hiding in the back and she wouldn't want me to call her out, but Kelly has been a great help, a great addition to the team, helping with the pool and the items at Prairie Creek. So glad to have her with us.
Brad, one thing I was going to mention about the summer intern program too, really did want to give a thanks to the Whiteley Community Council. They stepped up. We were really working hard to try to be able to put this into a framework that made sense from a legal standpoint so the kids could benefit. And they actually stepped forward yesterday to really begin to explore this and to talk about a way to do it, cover the insurance, to cover sponsorships, and to provide so we can operate it in a way that everybody would feel really, really good about. And their board actually approved in principle tonight to go forward with it. We did not know that until just a little bit ago, but they approved that. And really wanted to thank them because they stepped forward to save what I think is a real benefit to kids, and to do it, make sure we do it the right way, and that we have insurance in place and all the details. So kudos to them. And I think probably the Parks Board, if we want to approve it in principle, but then subject to, we've still got I's to dot and T's to cross, which will get done the next day or two, I think, but there are no substantive issues. I think we've got them all worked out, other than just getting a final contract done, so.
Excellent. Well, that was going to be my next question, is I know we've had several contracts bouncing around here between the board and between Carl and the legal team. Sounds like the internship program is ready for approval. I don't know if any of the others are at approval state or where we need to move on to those at this time.
Cardinal Swim Club is,
This as well. Okay.
and the Y is already, or the.
Has been approved.
Yeah, that's been approved.
Yeah.
Legacy tentatively, yes, just
Yeah.
subject to a few
A few tweaks.
tweaks on the contract. I think we can approve security for TUI
Okay.
this summer. We received their insurance, proof of insurance already, so.
Okay. We'll work down the list, work those individually here. So the first one we've got is the internship program contract with, oh my gosh, Whiteley
Community Council.
Any discussion on that? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. The next one we have is the Cardinal Swim Club. I guess for public information, that's, they host, their team does practices there, and they're also helping with some of the events and activities at the pool. And they've worked with us on that and been a good partner as well. So if there's any other question or discussion on that, if not, entertain a motion to approve that one.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. And then the last one we've got is the contract with Legacy to provide security at Tui Pool during the summer operation. Functionally, that's a very similar contract to last year with some minor changes in it. And I think that's in the final process as well. Any discussion or questions on that contract? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Great. Any other, we kind of buzzed through the new business there. Any other new business from the board? Any other action items from the board for approval? Any other action items from the public for approval? All right. Any other comments from the board this time? Open comments? And lastly, I do know we've got a few names on the public input. And,
I have 4.
all right.
First one, Kendall's going out, so it looks like Jackie Fisher.
As mentioned, try to keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes, please.
My name's Jackie Fisher, and I actually, did someone
Cough.
echo?
Cough.
Oh, am I too loud?
No, you're good.
You're good.
I actually live at southeast Delaware County near the reservoir, but my daughter lives here in Muncie. But I'm a regular viewer of Parks and Recreation Board, City Council, et cetera. One of the things I wanted to kind of bring up, I know that the mayor had announced an agreement with Ball State that going to add a 10th park there on Anthony and Oakwood. And my understanding it was MRC would paid for the implementation. But my concern is ongoing maintenance and repairs and things that are going to be needed. Is the Parks Board, I think it was when the pool was getting ready to be open, Carl mentioned about needing to buy a sweeper and the budget was tight. So I don't know, is this a time where the board needs to go and ask for more money for the next year planning to cover needs, for adding parks? That's going to increase maintenance and the cost. And that was a concern I had. And then also, I drove by the East Sports Complex. I know previous Carl had talked about moving lights into Muncie to different other park areas. Seemed like there's still more lights out there, so I don't know what the plan is for bringing the rest of the lights, or were we just a number of few that we're bringing?
I think you got all the ones you needed, didn't you, Carl? And
So it wasn't. Okay.
yep. So I think we've reclaimed most of it, and if not, the rest is still in progress.
So it wasn't to bring all the lights in
Correct.
Muncie?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Daniel Fogel.
Good evening. This is my first time ever being here. I just moved to this area this last August. I live next to the reservoir as well, and this is very eye-opening to see the presentation that I did earlier. I'm just I had just a couple little questions. I'm not sure if maybe these should be as a side note to maybe some of you off afterwards or maybe here, but do any of you actually live near the reservoir? And how does this actually work with conjunction with the water company itself? And then the third thing would be is I was told by Mr. Henderson, because I am a resident and I live basically a stone throw away from the reservoir, that for those meetings that he said that he wanted to have with you guys when it comes to future endeavors with the park that I could be a part of, who would be my POC for that?
It sounds like if you've already spoke with Mr. Henderson, that's probably the best contact. We're kind of on the front end of this as well, working through. Last month or so has been the most communication we've had with the water company in a while. So this is a growing partnership, and certainly want to make it the best for the parks and the city and the residents that we can. Probably not the best answer you want to hear today, but.
I'm like I said earlier, I'm just learning. I haven't even been here a year yet, so just still kind of getting my feet wet and stuff of that nature. And I've been to many of these meetings before. I'm a former fire chief in the South, and for the county though, not for a city. So I understand the concept of how these things work. By any chance, do any of you actually live near the reservoir? No?
Well, I'm not too far from it, but.
Fair enough. And my last question that I have, I know time is short, is if the city is in partnership with the Indiana American Water owns the reservoir, but Muncie City, the city of Muncie has access to it, from my understanding, is the police, fire, rescue, and any type of EMT or medical Does that come from the city as well, or is that from the county?
Yes. That has been a challenge, and there's some shared coverage out there. And it has been a challenge for us. That's why we've added the additional security detail through the Prairie Creek, is to try to provide additional coverage outside of,
So all of the above.
yeah,
Yeah.
outside of the county and the city.
Fair enough. That's all I had. Thank you
And
so
the
much.
other, DNR is also involved as well, so that's the other layer of security that's involved on the water.
My last thing that's not a question, would be a statement, is being a resident there. I have family members, and as has been well documented over the last 10 years, of what Flint, Michigan has had to deal with when it comes to their water source. And I have, excuse me, I have family members that used to live in that area. And it would be my strong urging to heed what that gentleman had to say earlier today. I understand some people's feelings and emotions might get hurt if you were to take away some of the campsites to lower whatever the case may be, but your water source is much more important than people's enjoyment of that reservoir. So, and as a resident of that area, I find it pretty concerning as well. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
for
you.
sharing. I do want to say, if I may,
Yes.
that it sounded like the water company was pretty open to hear what the residents had to say. So that probably leaves it a little open for you to give your input to them.
Next.
I'm not sure if this is Larry Potty or
They're Larry.
the pin was going out, so.
No, Larry?
Larry?
Gary? Anybody sign up?
I signed it, but I'm not gonna talk.
Okay. Anybody else on the list?
Nathan, so it looks like Larry, I'm gonna work on mine.
There's his butt. I'm like, yeah.
And you need darker glasses.
I have an appointment Saturday.
Was that all the names we got on the list, Nikki? I think we can open the floor for a few other public comments. I know we've had a lot of discussion. Anybody else from the public? And we will need your name either before or after for the record, so you can sign that.
Good evening. My name is Greg Wilkins. I live out southeast Delaware County. I'm currently the president of the Muncie Light Horse Club. So I was taken a little aback by the water company presentation this evening. I guess I didn't know much about what was being discussed. I know he mentioned that maybe they got the impression that the trails were unauthorized or they were just put in, but this park board authorized those trails on April 17th of 1990. Superintendent Ron Bonham, the Muncie Light Horse Club worked extensively with the park board back then to get the trails started. In that day, you had 4x4 trucks just running amok out there. And with the advent of the trails, that all stopped. I mean, we actually improved that area out there. I know that he sounds pretty adamant about that, but I didn't want him to think that, we just started riding horses out there. Just in the last year and a half, the Horse Club, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit, has put over $12,000 into the Prairie Creek trails through Ball Foundation grant, a grant through Midwest Equine Trail Foundation. We partnered with Prairie Creek and the club and put over $1,500 in updating the trail signs out there, as well as some of the other work. The Ball Foundation grant alone eliminated invasive species along the edges of the trails to make them safe and rideable. So it's not, these trails have been out there for over 30 years. And like they said, they've not been very involved out there, and now they are. I don't know what his objections are to having horse trails on that side of the reservoir. He did mention the drinking water reservoir. But all across the state of Indiana, there are horse trails along other bodies of water, and, they even cross the water. So, like I said, I was kind of taken aback by this. I didn't know this was going to happen. I would think that there are going to be further discussions with the water company on what you guys are going to be doing. I would hope that maybe the horse club a representative such as myself could be involved with those discussions to see if either there's things they don't like about the horse trail that can be improved, and go from there. So, did you have any questions for me about Prairie Creek horse trails?
Questions for Greg?
Can't
I
think
don't think
of
so at this time. Thank you, Greg. As we kind of mentioned a couple times here, this is new discussion here within the last 6 months or so about Prairie Creek and the Indiana water involvement. There's only the 2 initiatives right now that they've put in place. Certainly sounds like there may be more in the future, and things could change and move as the further resources and discussions go on.
Okay.
I'm glad they were here. Certainly, they were not obligated to come and make a presentation to us at all. It could have been an email or a notice. So I'd appreciate them coming in and having the open discussion and be willing to meet with us. But I want to continue to work with you guys in some format, and what that looks like, I don't know at this time. But certainly appreciate all the work you guys have done out there.
Yeah, can I leave you my information so that you might contact me?
Yep, leave it with Nikki, and then that way she can share with the board, and we can keep in contact there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
We appreciate you coming.
Thanks. Any other public comments? Seeing none, any other board discussion? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. You don't get a vote on this, Nick.